The Black Ops 7 Zombies Beta was a mistake. This is something I've seen become more and more of a hot topic here within the community, and it's also something that I'm starting to feel more here as the days go by. It seems like for every good thing that the beta would bring us, we've also got something negative alongside it, and as time goes by, it seems like those cons are getting worse and worse. Which begs the question, was the beta a mistake, or are the benefits of it going to be great enough to make everything worth it? Well, to really dive into that conversation, we gotta talk about where this even came from, the start of the idea of a Zombies Beta. This was something that back in the day was just a dream Zombies fans had, but never thought that they would actually get. Mainly ever since the days of Black Ops 3 being one of the first big mainline games, bringing back the idea of a beta while also announcing it'll have a full zombies mode there at launch. And of course, we only got to play multiplayer. But man, wouldn't it have just been cool to play zombies? But as time went on, that's where more issues started to appear. In games like Black Ops 4, Cold War Zombies, and so on, there were cracks that were starting to form in the core foundation of zombies that we would even start to see there in pre-release gameplay, and others we would eventually find out about once we got our hands on it. And the problem is that by launch, these games were already done and out the door, making time for those core changes that really needed to happen much less of a focus, as a lot of the focus really needs to be put on that upcoming DLC content rather than fixing some of those things that were left over from launch. But this is actually a lot more important than people realize. When the core foundation of the mode is flawed, it's going to have a knock-on effect for everything there at launch, and also those devs needing to play catch-up later on in the year as the life cycle goes on, or even years down the line. And this is when the idea of a Zombies Beta became more prevalent, giving us the community the chance to give devs feedback for core changes of the game. Think like Black Ops 4 Zombies and how that launched with like none of the core perks, 3 hit to down, all of that needing to be updated there around launch. And even like Cold War Zombies having the rarities completely reworked in the middle of its life cycle, as wall guns were completely useless. And even something like Black Ops 6, where we saw some really good gameplay of it early on, thankfully being able to provide a little bit of feedback, therefore getting some of those changes made there for launch. But that brings us to 2025 and the reveal of Black Ops 7 Zombies. And that gave us something we never thought we'd actually see. In what might be the most divisive and toxic time in our entire community, we finally got the first ever Zombies Beta. Everyone lost their mind seeing this, including myself. Whoa. We're getting a Zombies Beta? Holy shit! I've been begging for them to do a Zombies Beta forever. It was one of the biggest things that I personally pushed for after what we saw with the launch of Black Ops 7 Zombies. You know, helping bring back zombies to what it was there in the very first place, the mode being built there alongside the community. But little did we know that that might have just been a mistake. Now, on the bright side with the beta, we did get to experience things for ourselves, both good and bad, there for the developers. You know, we saw that good, of high rounds feeling so much better with less enemy spam and less super sprinters, seeing the visuals hands-on, just the game looks so good and it feels good too. Even just like going to the map and listening to the ambience, it just feels like such a good step in the right direction. And even getting hands-on with stuff like the nerfed salvage rate, which actually put a lot more emphasis there on the mystery box, wall guns, and also potentially having that knock-on effect of actually nerfing score streak strats this year. And there's also other great changes that just felt so good getting our hands on, like max ammos, refilling equipment again, the debloating of the mystery box, the reduction in enemy spam that feels so good, or even just the simple idea of making wall weapons actually have a purpose again. But we also were able to see things like the bad, but that's actually a good thing because now the devs can adjust that. Things like the doppelgas from Black Ops 6 just randomly appearing after round 40 that nobody likes. Damage scaling needs to be way further nerfed there on those high rounds. Weapons overall might benefit from a slight damage buff due to kind of how the point and armor systems work. The HUD and the menu definitely need to be more zombified. And hopefully they also hear our feedback on potentially bringing forward some classic guns like the M14, Olympia, and MP40 from Black Ops 6 to Black Ops 7 in some way. Now, all of this sounds great. There was good, which is good, and there's bad, which is also good. Because again, like I said, those bad things we can push to get adjusted. So where's the problem? Well, there's actually two big things we need to talk about. As for the lesser of the two, it's the lack of communication and not taking full advantage of the beta itself. Now, the best way to put this into perspective is actually taking a look at the multiplayer side. With this beta, we saw constant additions and changes every single day, and even adjustments to some things that we thought we would never see changed ever, like skill-based matchmaking and disbanding lobbies. It did exactly what the beta was for, constant changes and testing to make the core game at launch even better. But on the zombie side, things remained pretty stagnant. We actually didn't really get hands on a lot of content there in the game, especially the things that are some of the biggest concerns for the core gameplay. Like, how will the injection strategy work here with the new rates? Will it actually work? How will these new augments actually affect the core gameplay? Will it be too easy, or will it still feel good? Are we judging maybe the base weapon damage too harshly and potentially causing an overcorrection for when we get to launch, as we'll have both double tap and dead shot augments. Maybe we're accidentally making the game even easier and worse there at launch. What about testing different values during the beta? Why didn't we test the actual damage itself? What about tweaking things like the cost of ammo for non-wall guns and wall guns themselves? Or even new additions like ether tools in the box and the rate of them dropping. It's like, are they tuned properly? There's just so much up in the air, and we didn't really get a lot to test with ourselves. We also didn't really get much of any communication there from the devs either. And I completely understand that this is likely just a growing pain of the first ever Zombies beta. I totally get that. I mean, it doesn't make these things not sad that they didn't happen, as they are just the best way to truly take advantage of the beta itself. But man, I just can't shake that feeling of wishing we could have gotten to test some of those things that are of the biggest concern. Or at least some sort of communication there from the devs that they actually hear our complaints. Because on the multiplayer side, it was, we hear you, no SBMM, nerfed aim assist, no disbanding lobbies. But for Zombies, it was silence. Aside from a random one-off post saying that there will be a dev talk from the Zombies team at some time eventually. And that's pretty much all we've gotten. And you know what? If this was all we had to deal with, it would be whatever. Like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But what we really need to talk about is the elephant in the room, the game files. Now, before this, I was feeling like, yeah, you know what, maybe the beta hasn't been the best, but it is what it is, it's fine. It's honestly probably just been more good for the game than bad. But it was at this point that I and a lot of the community started to feel like we might be in trouble. Now, one of the first things that people realized was that within the code of the game, it wasn't just farm survival in the beta. It was the entire launch map itself, which was a bit worrying, but thankfully nothing had really come aside from it, aside from just a small glitch in the tutorial, letting people kind of explore a spawn room, which was, it is what it is. But before we would even realize how bad this would actually be, it started off as a good thing. We got to see a glimpse of some of those HUDs coming to Black Ops 7, like the Shadows and Black Ops 3 HUDs. While yes, removing some of that hype there for launch, it's actually helped smooth over one of the biggest complaints the game has had so far, being the lackluster HUD. We even had members of the community coming together to mock up these assets into what the HUD would actually look like in game. And man, these look fantastic. This was actually such a huge moment of positivity here and got a lot of people really excited for the game, alleviating one of their biggest concerns. But it didn't stop there. As I mentioned earlier, the whole map was technically in the beta, and towards the tail end of it, leakers managed to kind of no-clip around and get out of the bounds of farm itself. And this led to, at first, an overview of the whole map, which not the biggest deal in the world, and then led to new areas being discovered which we hadn't seen before at all, which honestly probably would have been best to see at launch for ourselves, and culminated in a secret area that is very likely where the boss fight is, which draws a striking resemblance to something we had seen before in the past of Zombies that I don't really want to spoil. And yeah, these are things that we would have probably just been better off not seeing. I don't really think they benefit anyone besides spoiling some of those cool secrets for us to find day one. And honestly, as it's gone even further, it's causing even more drama here within the community, like finding medals in the code for more reused enemies in Black Ops 7 Zombies coming over from Black Ops 6. If this really is the case, this would be horrible and an incredibly tone-deaf decision on the devs' end. But again, we can't really assume these things because they may as well be used for Dead Ops 4 or even the endgame mode there in the campaign. So all this did was just make an already toxic conversation of the enemy reuse in the game even worse than it already was, as people make assumptions based on those leaks. But the real catalyst that made me make this video you're watching right now was this. The subtitles for the main map were left in the code, leaking the dialogue of what appears to be the mid-Easter egg and ending cutscene of the map, spoiling the end of the biggest map in Zombies history an entire month before launch. And it was to this that I saw a reply of a fellow Zombies creator, 𝘿𝙤𝙤𝙢𝙢𝙪𝙾, that read, "The Zombies beta was a mistake." And in that moment, I couldn't agree more. Oh, and also, some references to the quest steps getting the Wonder Weapon were also leaked, and it didn't stop there, as also apparently the audio itself of the ending cutscene has also leaked according to ZoneX. But wait, it doesn't stop there either, as we got direct references to code and augments there referring to DLC perks that are going to be released there with Black Ops 7 as well, an entire month before the game is even out. With that said, this is bad. Like, this is really bad. Now, I do understand the nuance of leaks. On one hand, they can build up more hype, and even give us hope for things that we've been begging to get changed or added, like classic mode and the potential of removing disbanding lobbies, both of which actually brought more hope and positivity to our community, and that eventually came true. But man, this is just too much. We don't really need to see all the hidden areas, all the upcoming perks, potential quest steps, and dialogue, or even straight up audio of the ending cutscene. These are honestly things just best left unseen for most of the community. But I also know on the end of creators, including myself, a lot of them feel the pressure to cover these things as well, as they're already out there. As once that's kind of happened, all you end up doing by not covering that content is just shooting yourself in the foot. What's the point in making a theory video when half the community already knows the answer? Are there secrets of the map left to uncover, or what perks are potentially coming? Or could the Easter egg be leading us towards? What could happen? All these things thrown out the window, as what's even the point of speculating when we've already got some solid answers directly from the game code? And I do also understand the argument on the side of the devs here, as they shouldn't have left all this code within the game, or at least attempted to encrypt these things. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not knowledgeable enough on this kind of topic to really give too much input on that, but I do understand the point as a whole, as kind of where people are coming from with that, as I do think maybe there should be more effort done here to prevent this. But man, even with all that said, it could still be worth it here in the end if the devs truly listen to us and our feedback and make the game as good as possible from the beta. And that begs that question, was the 𝘾𝙤𝙢𝙢𝙪𝙾 Zombies beta a mistake? Well, honestly, the answer to that actually lies within the hands of Treyarch on what they do from now until launch. What we need right now is communication and clarification on what is being changed and on the rumors that are yet to be squashed. Within one of the multiple creator calls that the devs had, it looks to have actually sparked a lot of confusion on certain decisions that may or may not be the case. Things like armor supposedly maybe being cursed or maybe not, and if it's potentially not, that brings up the question of damage scaling. We also heard from some people that there would be a cap at damage scaling at round 100, which doesn't seem to be the case, and we also heard about a potential change in enemy design philosophy, not reusing enemies as much, only for us to then see the 𝘊𝙁𝙁 and 𝘊𝙁. And honestly, it feels like the way that this was communicated to us is just causing more confusion and chaos, as a lot of this key crucial information on the game itself and the design philosophy behind it is coming from word of mouth, which is honestly just not the best. But then again, even that can be remedied. What we need is just simple clarification. Will the HUD and menu be adjusted for launch? How will that armor and damage scaling work there in Cursed? Reused enemies, do they hear our feedback, or can we have at least a simple clarification on which way is really the case? And we also just need to know that they have heard our feedback from the beta itself and what they're going to be adjusting here for launch. And thankfully, as of today, recording this right now, the Zombies team has actually responded. Not only do we have themes, but there is going to be a unique HUD for zombies there at launch. Weapon balance we shouldn't be too worried about because it seems like with those augments there, they should feel pretty good. 𝘊𝙁𝙁 were confirmed to be here only on the farm survival map, as they thought it might be fun to use some legacy enemies to help spice up and make those survival maps feel just that much more unique. But on that same front, not all the enemies are going to be carrying over from Black Ops 6 to Black Ops 7, specifically stating like the stuff from the evolution system isn't going to be carrying over, like the spiders, the flies, the amalgam, and they even specifically said no manglers are going to be in Black Ops 7 Zombies, thank God. And they also hit on some of the biggest pieces of community feedback. Cursed will now be unlocked for everyone as soon as one person completes the main quest there at launch. Absolutely great middle ground, love to see that. They have heard our feedback on legacy weapons like the PPSH, Olympia, that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to be there at launch, but it is something that they are heavily considering. Keep that feedback coming. There is going to be a super Easter egg within Black Ops 7 Zombies, and it seems like it might also be connected to Black Ops 6. And the final thing a lot of people aren't going to be happy to hear about is that armor will be in Cursed mode. And unfortunately, there's not going to be a relic to remove it. But thankfully, this has just finally been clarified, so now we know how it's going to be. And that can also finally ease people's worries about damage scaling, how that would work without armor there within the mode. And hey, who's to say with enough feedback we might be able to get a relic to actually get rid of armor there later in the life cycle. It's this. This is what would make that beta worth it. Even after all the bad that's already came out of it, we always wanted a beta to help set the groundwork to make that core foundation as good as possible for launch. Where with the beta, maybe the launch might hit a little bit less than it should have. But man, those core design changes could have a great knock-on effect for the entire rest of the year. And so, the ball is in your court now, Treyarch, and all I ask is to please give us some clear communication and really take advantage of the good that the Zombies Beta can bring. Also that we can look back here on this moment on the first ever Zombies Beta as a win rather than a mistake. And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the Zombies Beta? Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments. And hey, if you're starting to feel conflicted about how these leaks are kind of taking a bit of that mystery away from what zombies always had, I actually got a whole dedicated video to that for you here on screen now. And well, that's about it from me. See ya.